In God, we trust. Now it's time to stand up, speak out, and be heard. In a world that's tired and broken, where the truth gets pushed aside, where the voices in the darkness, where the fire we will not hide. From the pews to the streets, we're rising, with our hands and hearts held high. This is more than just a moment. This is freedom's battle cry. No more silence, no more fear. We were born for times like these. This is how we hear the people call. Freedom standing tall. We will not fall. We rise together, one and all. Stand, speak out. Let's take this world. This is the revival. And we won't back down. No, we won't back down. From the kitchen tables praying to the streets where justice cries, with a backbone to this nation, with conviction in our eyes. We remember who we are and the price of liberty. My hate, but with courage, we defend what must stay free. Hand in hand and heart to heart. This is where the healing starts. This is the revival. Hear the people come. Standing tall. We will not fall. We rise together. One and all. Stand, speak out, be out. Let's take out this world. This is the revival. And we won't back down. No, we won't back down. Yeah. Yeah. We are mothers, we are fathers. We are workers, we are strong. We are praying mixed with action. And we've waited far too long. This is love that fights for children. This is faith that never dies. This is a love to believe. What a praise. This is the revival. Feel the ground now shake. We won't break. We choose our way with courage, lighting up the day. Say we be holy. This is the revival. Right now, yes, right now. This is the revival. In God we trust. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. I hope all of you guys like my theme song here for the Revival of America. Got to get that little awkward silence out, like over here on Telegram. So I'm going to be playing that at the beginning of all of my shows. Hopefully get you guys a little bit pumped up and excited. It's got a great beat to it, and I just love the words. And it's got my tagline: "Stand up, speak out, be heard." And if you guys listen to the words, it's really truly what we're going through right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I want to say thank you to all of you audience members that have stayed here and continue to come in here every week to listen to me, ask the questions to my guests, and listen to my guests as well. Appreciate it. As many of you know, I did celebrate on the 17th, my 6th season. So I want to thank all of you, my audience members, because without you, the audience, the Revival of America would not be. So I want to say thank you very much for being a part of the Revival of America. Also, to everybody, please be careful who you listen to, who you follow, what you put in your mind. I say it all the time. I say it for a reason, because even myself and some of the people that I have followed or listened to, seeing them fall to the wayside, or they're kind of showing some things that they're not who they really who I thought they were, right? So just be careful, everybody. You got to look for the flip flopness. You've got to look for the inconsistencies, how consistent they are. Obviously with their guests, what their message is, the patterns that they're doing. It's very obvious more and more on a daily basis. So please, everybody, it's a thing. Be careful. It can be dangerous out there. What many people are putting out there to distract you. A lot of false information, misinformation, disinformation. So again, please be careful, guys. I say it for a reason, because I do care about you as the audience, and as from a distance friends, right? I mean, I may not know you personally, but you guys come in and support me just by listening and asking questions on a weekly basis. So, you have become part of the family here at the Revival of America. So please, guys, be careful. And also to know that I myself or any of my guests will not randomly reach out to you and ask you if you're ready for the scare event. I talk to you about crypto, any financial questions or advice. We don't do that. So if you get something like that, somebody pretending to be me or any of my guests, please block, report them. Make sure you let me know so I can make sure they're not here in any of my channels. Also, too, if you guys are sending me emails, personal emails, I welcome that, but please send them to the Revival of America at yahoo.com. That's where, if you have a question, if you're inquiring about Field or Field's books, John Baxter, any of my guests, or just have a question for me, please send them to the Revival of America at yahoo.com, because some of you guys are sending me your stories and your journeys that you want to get on the platform here, the podcast, and they're getting buried either in spam or excuse me, they're getting buried in my emails, or they're being kicked over to spam. So if you guys have a journey or a story to tell, please send that to me at TROA submissions. Again, TROA submissions at yahoo.com. I specifically did that email for your guys' stories. I do vet them because, guys, we do get the shysters over there as well that want to make up a fake story just to get on a podcast. So please, everybody, TROA submissions at yahoo.com. Your stories, a brief synopsis of it. I will read through it, vet it, and reach back out to you and get your voice, your story heard here on the podcast. Because remember, everybody, it's your voice, your story that's going to help shape this new world that we're coming into. So we will wait for Juan. I'm waiting for him back here over here on Rumble in the green room. And many of you guys know Juan comes in here and gives us the updates. We don't ever really take questions with Juan. But I do believe he's got a lot to say. I've been listening to him a lot and a lot of other podcast. So, I hope everybody is getting mentally prepared for whatever's going to happen. What does that look like? Nobody truly knows, although I think Juan knows, but obviously he can't probably come out and directly tell us. But we've been waiting for this, guys, for a long time. So I'm hearing people, they're getting frustrated. They're talking about fear. No fear, guys. There's no fear here in this. We don't want any fear. We gotta stay our minds straight. And because remember, guys, people are going to come to us needing help or asking, how did we know, or what's going on? So we've got to stay strong in the mind. And that's why I say, be careful who you listen to, who you follow, what you put in your mind, because your mind is a very powerful tool in that body of yours. And it can play some wicked games on you if you don't get control of it. So again, please stay strong, guys, because after we go through what we're going to go through, we are going to come out on the other end shining like a diamond. So as we wait for Mr. Juan to come in, I see, hello, Warren. I see Warren in here, a good friend of mine, and I'm probably many of yours too. I know many of you guys love Mr. Warren, so I'm going to have he and I can chit chat a little bit back and forth until Juan gets in here, and then we will push forward. I am going to message Juan right now just to kind of give him a little bit of a reminder that we are live, and then we'll get started here shortly. And I want to say hello, Warren. What's up? Are you there?
What's going on?
Hi. How
Yes,
are
ma'am.
you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I love how you come into my shows. Thank you for stopping by.
Yes, ma'am. I like it. I like listening.
Did you hear my theme song?
No, I just now came on and I'm still working a little bit. So just listening while I work.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate you being here. While we're waiting for Juan, do you maybe want to address the audience and let them know maybe something that you may have heard, or what you're thinking, what we're going to be seeing here in the coming days, weeks, months? I kind of have an idea, but yeah, go ahead.
I might can here in just a few minutes. I got to finish buffing this floor, and then I will be right back. I'm just about done.
All right, well, you go do your buffing.
Sorry. I'm crazy.
I see, Tim, you have your hands raised. I'm going to unmute your mic. Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead, Tim. Your mic is unmuted. Well, maybe not. Okay, well, I can't. It's saying it's not unmuting you, but if you are unmuted on your end, Tim, go ahead and speak if you can. Okay, doesn't sound like you can't. It says you can speak now, Tim. You got a question? Okay. All right. Well, let me hold on, I'm gonna text Juan here real quick, guys. Hang on, bear with me. Hopefully he can get in to this podcast. He wasn't able to last time. Hang on, guys. I may have to call him. Hang on. So we're gonna try Rumble, see if we can get in here first. Could you guys give me over here on Rumble and X Live, let me know that you heard him okay on the phone in case he has to call through the phone. Let me know you can hear. And then over here on Telegram, if you guys don't mind just raising your hand, just let me know if you guys heard Juan okay when he called right now. And then, yeah, over here on Rumble Live and X Live, if you guys have questions for me, you can write them down in the comment box. Otherwise, like I said, we don't typically do questions here with Juan. We just let Juan do his thing because he's got a lot of great information to give us. Okay, check mark. You heard Juan, hear him good. Okay, cool, awesome. So if he calls in, that'll be awesome. But Telegram, were you able to hear him okay? Raise your guys' hand if you were able to hear Juan okay. I don't see any hands for Telegram. That's not good. Telegram, can you guys hear me okay? Uh-oh. Were you guys able to hear Juan okay?
I hear you, but I didn't hear Juan.
Okay. So if he calls in on my phone, because Telegram, that's where you are, is on my phone. All of you guys here, if he calls in, okay. Oh wait, here he is. He's here. Oh, he's on Rumble. You're in luck. Juan, where are you at? Juan, are you there? Hang on, guys. He just was here. Hang on, guys. Hang on. But anyway, if he can't get on here on Rumble, which I just accepted him, Telegram, you may have to come over to X Live or Rumble. Okay, here we go. He's going to try again. Let's allow. Why won't it allow him to come in? Oh, there he is. Juan, I see you. Unmute your mic. You there? What's up? What's up? Hit the mute. Hit the mute button. I see you. Juanito. Okay, there's Juan. Okay, there you are. Okay, hold on. I see you. Okay, here's Juan on the screen, guys. We're gonna put him up on the screen.
So not letting me.
Okay, I hear you. I see you.
Yeah, I just heard him just then.
All
Just so
right.
you know.
Okay, let me try to get you up here on the screen, Juan. Where are you? Okay, how are you, Juan?
Well, I'm just trying to keep all the monsters in their boxes, doggone it. A lot of loose monsters.
Oh, you're fighting all the monsters off, huh?
Yeah, well, it's exhausting. I've got my tennis shoes on today because I have to do all this running. Chasing monsters is not easy, and so
So how are you doing? It's been a while. The last time, I apologize, you weren't able to get in here because Rumble sounds like it's a little bit challenging sometimes for you. So I do apologize for that. But you got in okay here, or no? Did you struggle a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope, I got in, made it, survived.
Good. So how you been? What's been going on in your worlds? The other time we got cut off, you're driving to DC. So that's been how long you and I have spoke since we spoke.
Well, let's see, since DC, I think I've been in up to 5 countries, about 20 states. I've been all over the place. Of course, the things that are important that this audience is going to be, revved up about. Of course, the Fauci testimony. He's given the Fifth Amendment. He's not going to answer questions.
Yeah. Wow.
His pardon isn't going to stand.
Yep.
Which we already knew before he ever started. Talk about somebody having to squirm, and an entire life, an entire career being exposed as something other than what he had been projecting all that time. And of course, he, was in this incredibly powerful position during all of that time, and being courted and entertained by some of the most powerful people in the world and organizations in the world. And all of that is now coming unraveled in a Mengele sense with what he knew. He knew, as did the people that were running him. Remember, he's not the player. He was part of a club. And on the low side, probably responsible for the deaths of 1 million people. And if you include the injuries, the damage to life, the years of pain that he has caused, both directly here in the country and around the world, he will go down in history as being directly involved with the killing of millions and millions of people. It's actually a very sobering thing. And there's a lot of people that are still defending the whole vaccine thing, the medical stuff that was done. I had a business partner that had a heart attack, and I couldn't go to the hospital to visit with him. And the heart attack was almost certainly brought on by the vaccine. He'd been vaxxed just days earlier. And so he never, never got to hold hands with his wife, be with any of the other family in the 4 days they lived after he was 4 or 6, can't remember now, before he passed away. That's a very difficult thing. I'm sure it was induced by the vaccine. So many people repeated that. There's just so many. And then the treatments, beyond the vaccine itself, the approved treatment to blow people's lungs up on these respirators that were turned to too high of pressures to get past, the crystallization, this layer on the lungs that happened with the material that was generated by your body. Just so many different things. The torture, really, of millions and millions of people. All of that now is going to begin to come out. And for everybody here, please, in all of this, don't let this get past you. The entire reason these globalista, these monsters, these groups, these clubs needed you to take that vaccine, had to push this whole narrative of a militarized version of the flu going out into the world as requiring these attempts to shut you up, distance you, close you off from productivity, access to the stores, all those kinds of things, was because they wanted to steal the vote worldwide. COVID was not merely to thin out the population. COVID was about capturing the vote of the people in nations across the world, the people that are testifying before grand juries right now, say that they stole the vote, flipped the vote in 71 countries plus the United States. All of this, all of it was about stealing control, command and control at the leadership position to pirate the helm of the ship of state of all the countries in the world. And they succeeded in 71 countries plus the United States. That's what this is all about. When President Trump did the national address a couple weeks ago on Thursday, he explained that this was about vote integrity, vote security, and all those drop boxes, the surge of mail-in ballots, the use of the machines. Their plan was to have us all voting on our cell phone remotely while we're hunkered down in our basement waiting for our 24th shot, because everybody we know is dying off around us, and to thin the population of America down to a bare bones number, 10 to 15% of what it was. This all started. They were going to do this. They weren't even going to come out with a vaccine until 2030. So you were going to have to continue to get hunkered down because it was going to get worse and worse and worse and be blamed on the COVID, when it was really the shots you were getting. This was one mass psychological programming, MK Ultra operation. And this person was part of engineering this operation. He wasn't just pushing the vaccine. He was pushing the operation in a much broader sense. Even he knew the masks made no difference, but pushed that to have the optics that were needed and the programming that was needed to pull off this huge mirage. So you've only seen the beginning steps, and ultimately it will be seen that he was participating not just on the medical side, and had been for years, with the militarization of the vaccine in collusion with players around the world, including China, who Trump identified as being at the core behind election fraud here in America, flipping the 2020 election. He will go down in history in a very dark place. And that process has begun. And then those that worked with him in these broader schemes to steal America from the American people. This is an incredible moment. You're seeing the first hard turn away from the reefs and the rocks in this siren song that sought to shipwreck us as a country, and moving away from that and out into safer water as the storm begins to ramp up. You know, we're right now somewhere in a category 2, moving to a category 3 storm. But before this is over, and not this year, out into next year, we're going to move into a category 5, category 6, and for a brief period, a category 7. This is far from over. Everybody needs to take a deep breath, make a few preparations to get through this, and not be surprised as we move through these much more treacherous moments. Prayer required.
So Juan, do you think, so we're at 2 now, we're coming into 4, whatever, by the end of the year, and you're saying it's going to continue into the next year. How far do you, I mean, I know this is your opinion, and maybe you can't say, but how far are we looking into next year before we finally start seeing the brighter light?
Well, it's not about time as much as it is checkpoints.
Right.
And for cause, President Trump is helping you to understand the context of his next moves. He's going to have to pause the election. The midterms aren't going to go off on time, is my opinion. Others who are, equally have access and are aware of the mechanics of what has to happen are also coming forward and acknowledging, yes, you can't proceed with the election. Under the current circumstances, he's going to have to pause the election. And Peter Tickton, the attorney who was President Trump's friend, they're so close that they've known each other so long, they were sitting 2 desks apart when the announcement came over the microphone, the speaker in their classroom, that President Kennedy had been killed. That's how long they've known each other. And Peter on stage there in Vegas at the Fraud Fighter Summit a month and a half ago said that he agreed that the only way forward at this point in time is to pause the election. The reason that the coming election has to be paused is because you've already fixed the election. You can't fix this coming election now before election day because it's already fixed. You have primary candidates that are there through election fraud, who are not the will of the people. They're there through fraud, ballot fraud, machine fraud, voter roll fraud, etc. So what you're really doing is you would be sealing the deal if you proceed with the election at this point in time, and there's no way to unwind that. So the only way forward is to pause the election, wipe the slate clean, and start over. That cannot be done via legislative action, gubernatorial action, county clerk action, state action, U.S. Congress. There is no mechanism to pause the coming election November 3rd, except that the president changes hats, which he already has, by the way, wears his commander-in-chief hat and orders a full stop. He cannot even do it within the responsibilities and role of the presidency. Think about this for a moment. There is no mechanism as president for President Trump to freeze the election in just a few weeks. The only way he can do it is as commander-in-chief. And so what did he do on that Thursday statement? He told the whole world China was behind the fraud of the election 2020. And those details are coming out. And that, so this is a nation state level attack in collusion with other nation states, Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, Russia, China, Italy, Serbia, where the servers are located. By the way, the server farm where the electronic side of the vote flipping was being done coming up on the 2020 election. That server farm was co-owned by John Brennan and the richest person in Serbia. And so here you have the former head of the CIA involved in the vote fraud against America. See how that works out. So great dramas are just ahead. And it's going to be gripping, but we're going to get through it. It's not the end of the world. It's not, revelations and the end of the world. This is a hair-raising moment, but we all work together. We get through this, and it's much brighter moving forward. We're going to get our own elections under control here in America, and then we're going to go out across the world and help the rest of the world get their elections under control and bring the world back from the brink. That's what we're going to do.
So when you say gripping, obviously, this is kind of, can you kind of, do you think like it's going to be financial? Is it going to be people in the streets? Can you elaborate on that for the audience? Because I know I get a lot of my audience members asking me, and I always say, what does that look like? Nobody knows. I mean, obviously some people know, but you can't say, and you may not be able to either, but what does that look like to you, Juan?
Well, let me help everybody out here.
Please, thank you.
This is really, really, really important. Why didn't Trump do this 5 years ago? Why didn't he do it when we knew that there was interference in the 2020 election having taken place? Remember, General Flynn, his brother Joe, Sidney Powell, Patrick Byrne, Rudy Giuliani, and a handful of other people were all present in the White House with the president in the Oval Office on December 18th of 2020. And the context of that moment was the president a couple of years earlier on September 23rd, I believe it was, 2018, he signed Executive Order 14838. And that executive order mandated that all future elections had to be monitored by Homeland Security. And the director of national intelligence, who runs that operation, was to take any information gathered concerning foreign interference in any future federal election, not interference that happened by clerks or governors or things that happen in states internal with processes, but only within that foreign interference, if foreign governments were interfering in any election here in America, that the information of that interference needed to be collected and within 45 days of any national election conveyed to the president and to Congress concerning interference in the election. And then the president, Congress could take action to further investigate and determine if in fact it had flipped an election or affected an election. But that report was due within 45 days of any federal election. So November 3rd of 2020, we had our election. 45 days after that was December 18th. 3 days before that report was due to the president, Mr. Radcliffe, who was the director of national intelligence over at Homeland Security, started talking to reporters and press and said that he would not be able to deliver that report as required within the required period of time because several of the agencies inside Homeland Security, which we now know were FBI, CIA, DEA, NEA, NSA, and others, were refusing to give their intelligence information to Radcliffe to form a report to give to President Trump. They were involved in an insurrection. And what they should have done, what Radcliffe should have done, is that he should have given a report to the president identifying specifically who was refusing to comply with that executive order, that EO. And then the president could go to Congress, have them brought before Congress, just like Fauci was yesterday, and interrogated. Why are you not providing this information based on the executive order, not just to the president, but to Congress? And they would have told anybody that was listening at that time, oh, Russia, Russia, Russia. We aren't going to cooperate with the president because we think he's a foreign agent. Okay, so who makes you God over at the FBI? Who makes you God over at the CIA to make that determination? Has he been proven to be a foreign agent for Russia? No, but we just think so, so we're not going to give that information. So on December 18th, the people that were present in the Oval Office with the president were compelling him, please, please, these people are involved in an insurrectionist act. The American people need to know, did somebody interfere in the election? Something appears wrong. Something's not right about this election that just happened. You cannot put someone into the Oval Office and the offices down the ballot who is there through election fraud. You can't do it. Eventually, after almost 5 hours into the wee hours of the evening with the president agreed to allow Sidney Powell to come back in the morning and in a secure location in the White House begin assembling a document that would identify the insurrection, just as Lincoln had done 150 years ago. And that it would identify the insurrection by the government officials and then allow him to take them out of power, essentially begin what many people would consider a coup. No document exists that's on the shelf. You just pull it off a form letter and I'm declaring an insurrection. So Sidney Powell is going to have to write this document up. The president agreed to allow her to do that, and then he could consider whether or not to sign it in the subsequent days. Everybody left that meeting. What we know now, which came out in testimony during Nancy Pelosi's interrogation of people related to January 6th, a year later, is that after everybody left the Oval Office, President Trump had a second meeting in the early morning hours of December 19th of 2020, where general staff officers, generals, if you will, and a couple of admirals met privately with him. And they explained to him that he could not allow a document to be created that he could then dither over whether or not to sign. He could not allow Sidney Powell to even create the document because the threat to America was that America would fall into civil war. Now, I'm still on the question your people asked, what's going to happen? And why is it happening this way? And what's going to be our condition? President Trump, after reviewing the matter with the generals, which he had already done previously, but you had new information. You had people that were trying to compel him, no, you got to sign the Insurrection Act document. You've got to create it and sign it. He considered, he listened, he weighed it through just in case there was anything he hadn't considered, didn't understand, his other advisors had missed. There's a scripture amongst many counselors, there's safety. So he allowed them to say what they said. He went back to the generals who were already helping him with this. Remember, President Trump is not there all by himself. President Trump says he was invited to run. Who invited him? He said that also, 200 generals. Now, there's about 800 general staff active in the U.S. military. You got retired like that out there. So about a quarter of the active military of generals. And you have to think about who are all these generals, these perfumed princes in their crispy uniforms running around all important and everything like that. About 3/4 of them are what we call logistics personnel. All those people over at the Pentagon, they handle the logistics of procuring weapons, developing designs, getting them tested and distributed out into the various mechanisms of war, the military machine. These procurement systems, these distribution systems, maintenance systems, only about a quarter of the generals are actually about conducting a war, doing a real campaign, going out and actually breaking things, killing people, okay, taking control of an area. The rest is just logistics. And a huge component of our military at the general staff level had approached the president and were backing Trump for the presidency to get into office because you have to have certain legal, formal positions to do certain things. And they understood that much of our government, our military mechanisms had already been hijacked and taken control of by a globalista clan, a international operation to pirate the ship of state of America and divert us off to this globalist direction that they had planned. In fact, a Luciferian agenda, very precisely, exactly, not just the devil in some vague terms, a Luciferian agenda has been perpetrated and foisted into the American system to steer us and the rest of the world off into this Luciferian dream world that they imagine. What happened was those that would not go along with that, in fact, men of faith, every one of them, and not squishy about their faith, their Christianity even, invited Trump to run. Trump accepted the invitation, and they've been working in the background ever since, all the way through him becoming president, and through that first term with all of the attacks, and then all the way up to where President Trump, on March 13th, 2020, declared a national emergency related to COVID. This is in the context of what happened with Fauci yesterday, who was, in large measure, the point, the pinnacle of all of the COVID drama and illusion cast upon not just America, but the world, doing those news conferences being broadcast out into the whole world by the media. You didn't see any media say, well, we're not sure if this is true. We're going to wait and see. They wanted every word of Fauci to go out to the world and covered it endlessly, canceled other shows and put Fauci out there to the world. COVID, President Trump declared the national emergency March 13th of 2020. 2 days later, President Trump went to Cheyenne Mountain, which is our weapon of mass destruction military command post. It's really there for the end of the world. If anybody was to attack us, primarily we think of nuclear weapons, missiles. That's our location, dug in a mile into the mountain, the Cheyenne Mountain, to orchestrate the response. And it's really not just the Cheyenne Mountain facility. There's about 100 other facilities that are directly connected to it to maintain continuity in government if we're under some type of severe national attack. Space aliens landed, troglodytes crawl out from under the crust of the earth to try to take us over, or natural disaster. The sun has a sunspot that causes some kind of calamity that disrupts the ability to govern the country because of damage, as earthquakes happen, something like that. So with that in mind, that's what Cheyenne Mountain's there for. And it was created in the aftermath of the beginning of the nuclear age in the early 50s, because you had to have the ability to maintain continuity in government. What if we suffered some massive attack from an enemy looking out in the future with ballistic weapons going up into space and coming back down and raining on the earth? You had to have some location, some ability to survive that, fight back, to protect the people of the United States and the world by extension. So President Trump, on March 15th, 2 days after he declared the national emergency related to COVID, did a walk through Cheyenne Mountain, talks about the fact that he had just had the facility completely, totally renovated and updated during his entire presidency. Obama had been talking about shutting the facility down, and tried to, by the way, and got pushback from the military. Trump came in and threw billions and billions and billions into the facility and the related facility. Massive amounts of money to update, restore, and bring in new technologies to make sure it was perfect. As he left Cheyenne Mountain, talking with the general, he asked him, do you have everything that you were asking for in upgrading the facility? By the way, there's 3 generals that are in charge of that facility and the response. He said, yes. He said, is there anything more that you need, which wasn't included in the requisitions to date? Anything that you discovered you still need that you haven't got? No, sir, we have everything. Are you satisfied with the personnel? Because every person that works in that facility has to be personally approved by the President of the United States, his own signature on the paper. Every last single one. So they come up with somebody they want working there, they do the background investigation, everybody decides they have the right credentials, and then before they can actually go work in those locations, the president personally must sign the authorization. He sees every name, he knows every last one of them, knows their history. Going back to time they were probably still playing in their diapers, and approves them. The general said, no, I've got everybody, the personnel we have, I'm satisfied. Every last one of them is exactly who we need. Trump then says, well, if we have to then, if we had to close up today for 5 or more years, you'd be ready? Absolutely, sir. We are 100% ready to go. The president then says, out of an abundance of caution, because we may already have just been attacked. Literally 48 hours earlier, he had declared a national emergency. He says, out of an abundance of caution, because we may just have been attacked, we may already be at war and not realize it yet.
Oh.
So out of an abundance of caution, I'm ordering you to close up the mountain. The general says, well, I did have dinner scheduled with my wife after you leave. The president doesn't say anything. He gives him the look. He realizes this isn't a joke. Turns on his heels and goes orders the mountain closed up. The president goes over and talks to the press and tells them the same thing. We may already have been attacked. We may be at war and not realize it yet.
Keyword yet.
Those men in the mountain, see, let me finish this one thought here. Those men in the mountain, men and women, what if they got COVID? At that time, in those early days, all of the experts, including Fauci, were predicting millions of deaths from COVID. Not the shot. Oh, no, there was no shot in those days. And they were saying it would be years and years before we'd have a vaccine. So they were going to have to isolate, close down, shut off, not just America, but the world. And even proposing that you're going to have a vaccine passport, to go to work, a vaccine passport showing that you're up to date on your shots, to go into any public place, the store, the gas station. To go to any kind of a public event. And that those passports, internal passports inside America and across the world, were going to be mandatory. Do you see what they were planning on doing? And people were going along with it. And even the wearing of the mask, Fauci himself had said repeatedly that the masks won't make any difference. And in fact, could even be worse for you. Why? Because you're holding that bacteria in the mask people use and reuse. You know, it's one thing to have a disposable mask and change it 5-6 times a day like doctors do in the hospital, the nurses do in the hospital. It's another thing to have a cloth mask carrying that bacteria and restricting the airflow into your own lungs. It was stupid. I said that a gazillion times. I led a national tour around the country of doctors, attorneys, nurses, sports experts, some of the top heart physicians on planet Earth participated, telling people that this was a fraud, and it was in fact dangerous, and the masks were dangerous. In fact, the very first event we did in Buffalo, New York, and one of the things, and by the way, the reason that I did it the way I did, aimed at athletes, is because to go directly at the military, who was forcing the shot on military personnel, would have been to interfere in military activities. So I had to use similarly aged population, which was the athletes, high school and college students, and professional athletes who, are military or athletes also, to make the point in an indirect way that you could not do the shot into these young people, that it was going to kill and maim people, destroy their lives. And in fact, we scheduled to walk around and pray at the stadium there in Buffalo, New York. But the owners wouldn't allow us to go around that property because the property is privately owned. So we went to an adjacent street and prayed for all those people who were coming. And at that time, the governor of New York was saying that in order to get into any of the coming football games that season, you would have to have updated shot card and essentially a vaccine passport to go to any football game. And by the way, in the background, one of the owners, a woman, later that year required all of the football players and staff on the team to update their shots before they could go into the playoffs. And what's not known publicly is that that person apparently also did get the shot and then suffered a heart event that they have never fully recovered from, cognitive involved. That doesn't mean that they were evil so much as misinformed themselves. Wealth was no protector. This mass illusion damage, this person should be one of the people there ready to, push the button on Fauci to release the poisons into his body for the genocide that he presided over. Knowing he knew exactly what he was doing, who he was doing it with. There was no mystery, but many, many, many others out across the country fell victim to this mass illusion, which was not about protecting anybody from SARS-2, a flu, a militarized version of the common flu. It was about elections and getting the drop boxes, moving the world into an era where we'd all vote on our cell phones, like that digital vote was going to be secure. A Tholian web, a Star Trek term, a Tholian web of containment, that once the planet had gone to this form of elections, these globalists, these families would so control the world, we would never break free again. We would never have the opportunity to get enough control, power, influence, access to own our future. We would be slaves forever. And in that context, because we may be at war and not realize it yet, President Trump closed up Cheyenne Mountain in the aftermath of a national emergency. And here's the kicker. Because of what President Trump did, we were already in a national emergency, which has never been wound down. Even Biden saying the emergency is over, trying to close it down, excuse me, the election that he was part of, where he took the presidency, was a fraudulent election. That's why Trump keeps saying to the world, and said to the generals over a year ago back in Virginia when he had them all assembled, that he was 45, 46, although I don't really want to take credit for that.
Yep.
And 47. The reality is that we've been in a state of national emergency, which was not completely understood by the public, which isn't being broadcast moment to moment. And in fact, President Trump never gave the nuclear authority over to Biden. He did not acquiesce and agree that Biden had won the election. He never conceded the election. At a technical, legal level, President Trump maintained control as the commander-in-chief.
Oh, we lost you.
Including drama was at Mar-a-Lago where they came in. Oh
no, you're good. You came back. I hear you now. You're good. Oh, well, maybe not.
Still have you?
There you go. There you go.
There?
Yep.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, there you are.
Okay. All right. So that was what the whole drama was. And I've said this numerous times, so I know I'm repeating myself to much of the audience. Sometimes you have to hear something a few times before it fully clicks.
Agreed.
We're already in a national emergency. President Trump doesn't have to declare a new national emergency related to the elections. He expands our understanding of the national emergency we're still in, which has never been lifted, that he declared March 13th of 2020. And in expanding it, using it to pause the coming election, he already has the authority. And by the way, this may shock many, but because Congress didn't overturn the national emergency within one calendar year of its declaration, March 13th of 2020, there's absolutely nothing that Congress can do now either to stop it. The only person that can stop that national emergency is President Trump. And if for any reason he's incapacitated or expires, the three generals running the Cheyenne Mountain operation. There is another group that handles continuity in government, and that's Senior Executive Service, the largest agency of government most people in this audience have never heard of. Mm-hmm. Or if you have, they don't completely understand it. Every time Cheney had a fake heart attack as vice president, he'd laugh about it. He'd kid, well, I was running the shadow government, he'd disappear for months at a time. Well, what was he really doing? Helping to build out SES in its operations. SES, Senior Executive Service, was created under Jimmy Carter by an executive order. And it was administrating and running all this money, including the USAID fraud, to build out their operations. A shadow government working in the background, as their official mandate says, handling continuity in government between elected administrations. It was created in the aftermath of President Nixon having to step down. And with that in mind, the auspices that President Trump was somehow working for Russia as an agent of Russia, doing the bidding of Putin and other countries, including, for example, this fraud about, Netanyahu controls Trump, blah, blah, blah. Total, complete bullshit.
Yeah.
With that in mind, the various agencies and persons controlled ultimately by SES, including FBI personnel. I've got probably arguably the largest group of FBI personnel, senior staff that have, are reporting back and want to go back and correct what's wrong with the FBI. And they will tell you to a person that the problem with FBI all goes back to Senior Executive Service and the remote control of FBI via Senior Executive Service. They work for the FBI, people work for the FBI, but then they get an additional salary, retirement plan, etc., by having a position inside the Senior Executive Service, which then ultimately they're getting their main salary from their FBI service, but they're getting a retirement, they're getting their command, They're answering to people over at senior executive service beyond even their direct supervisors to do things that are being asked of them. It's extra governmental. It is hijacking systems all across our government. In fact, in the first minutes that President Trump was back in office as president, January 20th of 2025, he fired just shy of 10,000 SES employees within the first minutes and began the attack back. He cut off the funding, this secret slush fund of USAID money, okay, to do all sorts of nefarious things against America and to help forward this globalist agenda. What he's going to do when he pauses the election is stop the theft of America through fraudulent elections and persons put into high office. Then we start with the arrests that are going to be needed, the cutting off of foreign money in the secret pathways to do campaign financing for these people that have gotten into office fraudulently, and start weeding out the ranks. And it will be gripping because it will be a militarily run operation. There is no other mechanism. This is not a policing operation. This didn't originate inside America, and it wasn't being conducted solely by Americans, which then would be a policing operation. President Trump in his speech the other day told you it was China and others working on behalf of China. Therefore, it was a foreign operation to attack our electoral process, which then triggers that the only way to fight back is with a military response and taking command and control. You can use policing agencies, you can use the Justice Department, anybody that you choose, but it's a military operation. And no governor, no judge, no county elections clerk, no city council person can stop the commander-in-chief in doing what he has to do. He does become king in trying to work through the details of taking back America and protecting the American citizens and their constitutional rights. Your vote is your civil right. It's the most important thing you have, and it's part of your constitutional right. So if you're being threatened with fraudulent votes, it violates your citizenship. Therefore, the only response that's available is a military response in this situation because we're attacked by a foreign power at the nation state level. You can't bring a knife to a gunfight. And that's what this moment is about as we clean out the ranks. It won't be done in a few days or weeks. You're not going to restart the election in 3 months. The reason you can't fix the fall election right now is because you had primaries. And many of the candidates that got won the primary vote through frauds, through manipulation, would then be sealed into office. You have a choice between bad and worse in the fall election. And it's not the candidate that the people would have wanted if they had been allowed to run an honest primary vote. So you have to clean the entire board, reset it, which means you need to have the people that are there, the frauds, removed. And then people decide that it's safe to run for office, and they need to. They need to be able to have time to run a campaign, even if it's staccato, if it's shortened, it's 3 months, to educate the voters who they are, what they would do in office, and that their objectives and plans are constitutional. You know, you have a lot of people that are pushing communist ideas as though those are acceptable in government office. In fact, my friend Lloyd Brunson has his new book, The Constitution, out with some commentary. And he points out that in Article 5, final sentence, it says that you cannot take anything from the citizenry without just compensation. Well, that's communism. Taxes. Take it from this person, give it to that person because they need it. You can't do that. And so if you have a candidate like Mandami who wants to literally steal properties from property owners and give it to other people because they don't have a place to live. And so that's theft and no compensation. Just do it legally because they're not giving it for a cheap enough price. That is not constitutional activity. And therefore, he's trying to invoke a communist system right there in New York. It'll get knocked down, and there's stuff with his vote, by the way. He's not long for that position. Watch and see if I'm right. So it will be gripping in the sense that things won't proceed at the election date. But I gave you all this information for why. President Trump and the people behind him consulted in the wee hours of December 19th, 2020. And President Trump was told, you cannot create or sign an Insurrection Act document at this time because it will, by degrees, lead to civil war in America within months. Late spring, early summer. How did they know that? Because for several decades, in the background, people have been working through the fight back. Let me give you an example. One person that got all the way to the pinnacle of arguably the most important, most powerful position next to the presidency was Admiral Powell. How did that happen? Because he got to the head of the NSA. And then once he got there, after President Trump was confirmed as having won the presidency, Hillary conceded back in 2016. He went, without even asking anybody's permission, telling anybody where he was going, he went over to the Trump Tower, rang the doorbell, told security, here I'm here to talk to President-elect Trump, goes up into his office and shows him paperwork with transcripts of President Trump's supposedly secret meetings inside of the skiff at his location, where he's supposed to be able to interview cabinet members, potential cabinet members and personnel and staff like that for building out his new offices as president. And here these transcripts were where he was being bugged in this transition moment. Totally illegal. What the admiral did was he provided the president with the information that was needed in a technical sense to then begin to change his operations and know that he was being surveilled illegally. Now, to get to that position, to that high office, and then to turn and this globalista, this insider crowd, who thought they had a guy they could trust. And at the critical moment, he flipped and goes to the correctly elected president, fits into the same category as those 200 generals hiding in plain sight, working, doing overt programs, covert programs, gaming out how do we retake control of the country because we've been infiltrated. And they gamed out on computers, how do you retake the country if you're invaded by space aliens even? Is it millions and billions of space aliens? Is it thousands? Is it hundreds? How would they try to take control of the planet? How would we take control back? When those generals sat with President Trump on December 19th of 2020 in the wee hours of the morning, they said, you cannot win this battle by declaring an insurrection act and fighting back it that way at this time. We've gamed it out. It cannot be done. You take the country into civil war. In civil war, States don't cooperate between states. Commerce doesn't happen naturally. They even declare, I have this currency, and we only accept our own internal currency, and we don't accept the federal currency. In fact, you saw pieces of it when the governor of Colorado refused to acknowledge a federal pardon from President Trump on Tina Peters. And even now, knowing what I've just told you about the fact that the president's going to pause the election in November, you have people in California, including the governor, talking and working through the logistics of running the election in early November, in spite of Trump pausing it and saying that they're running it, including the federal positions, that if the federal government doesn't recognize it, they control their state, they're going to run the elections anyway. You're going to see a battle, unbelievable, and other states decide to join in. Remember, we had the battle whether Trump could even be on the ballot in Colorado, and there was a dozen states waiting to join Colorado if they wanted the Supreme Court and stop Trump from getting on the ballot nationally. So we're coming into an OK Corral type of a gunfight. And who's actually in control here? Who's going to run this town? We're coming into some pretty hairy moments, but I want people to understand, when the generals advised President Trump that he could not allow to be created and then have people dithering over whether he should have done it or not, sign an Insurrection Act, the precise reason was because it would lead to civil war in America within months, and it would kill millions. It would so disrupt the country, it would leave us vulnerable to nation-state level attacks of all different forms. So you couldn't do that. And President Trump had Mark Meadows, his chief of staff, revoke Sidney Powell's access to the White House. Just a few hours later, in the morning, she showed up at the gate, ready to come in and start putting the document together. She was told her access had been canceled, and she did not have access to the White House. She couldn't believe it. Turned her little convertible around and went home. President Trump, in doing that, wasn't protecting his position. He was protecting America. In the intervening years since 2020, even if gas prices have gone up, you've been able to go to the gas station, get gas, and still get to work every day. Go to the soccer game. The food has gone up in cost, but you were still able to go to the store. Your credit card worked. The banking worked. It may have been tough. It may have increased some of the problems. And unfortunately, because of the propaganda and the programming, you may very well have taken a shot which damaged you. But if you're listening to this, it didn't kill you. It may have killed others around you. And that's what that testimony was with Fauci the other day. But you're still here. The country is still moving forward. It slowed down, but it maintained hull speed, which allows for steerage. We still stayed above the minimum speed necessary to steer this great ship of state. If we were dead in the water, you can turn the steering wheel, you can turn the rudder all you want. It doesn't make any difference. You have to be moving. And the president kept America moving while we were working through the details of this fight back. Mm-hmm. And what you've just seen with the testimony yesterday was the first hard maneuver with side thrusters, rudder, and forward momentum to steer away from this catastrophe, this calamity of a country dead in the water and totally at the whim and will of the storm going on across the world, and an increasing storm as it is right now. We have the ability to steer clear of these hazards. It'll be bumpy, it'll be rough, but we're going to all make it. We're still here working together. So will your credit card still work as you go through this? There is a point where we're going to have a period of days, not months, where the banking system, the communications systems will be down. Why? Because they have to be reset. What's not known is the cellular phone system has been weaponized and can be used, hijacked, hacked, and kill people. That has to be cleared out, cleaned out, and that'll take a period of days to make sure all those programs are correct and that the threats are removed. There is stuff in the banking world which has to be reset also. And by the way, President Trump, while he's trying and working and the people around him are working and will succeed in returning an honest vote system to the American people, honest elections, that's his number one priority that he wants to leave this world having accomplished. Honest elections both here in America and across the world. His number two thing is honest money. America, for a very long time, and the world has been hijacked by this international reserve system being run out of the banks in the City of London. And those banks control the world, including China, by the way. Is the attack truly China on the vote and COVID and everything else? China doesn't function. It doesn't exist based on its own internal banking stuff. It exists with the acquiescence, control, assistance of the City of London, the banking capital of the world, the 1 square mile in the old Roman walls inside the City of London. By the way, when the Queen was alive, and it will be the same with King Charles, once a year, the Queen had to come during all of her reign, the longest reign of any royal to date in the world. The Queen would go to the City of London's gates. The gates would be opened. She would remove her shoes and then walk across the brickyard through the gate and present herself to the mayor of the City of London. The mayor. Curtsy, bow, kiss the ring, and acknowledge him as the most powerful person, not her. I mean, this is a person, think of this, the Queen, everywhere she goes, she has a royal porta potty that goes with her. And she doesn't even wipe her own ass. She has a person in the base of that porta potty who wipes her ass for her. Okay? I'm telling you the truth. This is serious.
Oh my God.
That's how royal her royalty is, right? And then she presents herself to the mayor of the City of London, curtsies, bows. Who's really running this? The City of London, the Rothschild family, and all the other families thereby attached. Even the royalty answers to them. Okay? Who's running China? The banking people. Who is Trump fighting? Trump's role is to return honest elections to America and the world. And then also to return honest money. I've said this to audiences over and over and over. I know I'm repeating myself to many people here. But again, sometimes you got to hear something a few times before it finally suddenly clicks or all the pieces start to fall into place.
Yep.
Okay? The reason he did not sign the Insurrection Act, did not even allow it to be created by Sidney Powell, was because we would be in an advanced state of civil war, unrest, and America would have fallen into the dystopian civil war environment that the Obamas tried to imprint on your mind with their Netflix movie, Civil War in America. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember, Hollywood tries to program, prophesy, predict
Predictive
certain
programming.
things that then get into your psyche, and then you're living them out. That's what they wanted for America. And President Trump and the people behind him, the generals advised the president, you cannot sign or even allow to be created an Insurrection Act document. All of that to say that they collectively, for their own family's sake and for your sake, for the country's sake, for the Constitution's sake, have decided They had to do this longer route to allow people to see how these people would govern, to have their actions like Fauci's made clear. Could you have had the Fauci testimony that you had yesterday and have it had the effect 5 years ago? You might say, oh, yeah, no, it should have been brought out then. We didn't have all the details. Took time to root it all out.
Right.
Had to see it play out. We don't do pre-crime in America. Even now, why doesn't, Steve Bannon came out earlier this week and said that he also believes that the elections have to be paused now, that we can't go forward, repeating what I've said all the way along. By the way, my chief of staff talks with him almost 2-3 times a day. They're very good friends. He agrees with what I've been saying. He agrees with what Peter Tickton said on the stage with me there at the Fraud Fighter Summit a few weeks ago there in Vegas, and many others, that you have to pause this election. But when you do pause it, Steve thinks it's going to get paused late August. I don't think it's that soon personally. I don't think it gets paused until late October, but we'll see. At the end of the day, it's going to have to be paused. What happens in the interim? They're running the rest of the primaries and then getting into even the early voting. And what has happened is that there's no change, no structural change in the election system from 2020 till now. It's as fraudulent as ever, even up to the primaries. The voter rolls weren't cleaned out. The president signed an executive order, his 107th executive order of this term. He signed it March 25th of 2025. It was his 107th executive order. Signed at 1:07 in the afternoon, by the way. And it ordered that all of the county clerks across America, 2,541 counties, had to clean out their voter rolls of duplicate voters, non-citizen voters, dead voters, all that stuff. It ordered that the governors supervise that. That was the 107th executive order of this administration. Gave them 180 days to complete the task. You know how many counties cleaned up their voter rolls, people registered to vote in that 180 days? 0. Not one. They defied an executive order. They said, we don't have the money, we don't have the capability, we're already doing it with Eric, which is a fraud. Our voter rolls are already clean. They didn't change anything. So you're going into an election with the same exact voting roll systems, mail-in, everything else, essentially, that you had in 2020. No substantial change. Well, if you got a fraud in 2020, as the president said Thursday 2 weeks ago, how are you not going to have a fraud this time around? Of course you're going to have a fraud. So there is nothing structurally that has been changed conclusively in a way that protects us. So with that in mind, how are you going to protect the people, the citizens of America from election fraud? You're going to have to pause it. That's exactly what he's going to do. And when he does it, we're far more advanced in our situation now. While we're doing that, the intent is that the banks still work, but we're transiting from the Federal Reserve System back to Treasury, which is constitutional. That changeover is well underway. We're going to keep the economy moving forward and do this transition in a way that allows commerce to continue. The business of America is business.
Oh, good. I was going to ask that. Okay.
So that you can still function. There will be some drama. We will continue to lose whole speed in the storm, sailing into the waves, and getting out to deeper water. You are going to have some pretty serious drama along the way, but it's been gamed out to be able to survive this. We're in a Category 2 storm right now, headed into a 3. as yesterday has, made clear. That's very quickly going to move into a 4 and a 5, and ultimately go all the way to a category 7. Extremely briefly, but I've said this to audiences, including your audience, numerous times. It is a near-death experience for America. If you're looking for Trump to save you, you're looking in the wrong place. If you're looking for the generals to save you, you're looking in the wrong place. Ultimately, those that get through this are going to have to turn to God Almighty in heaven. He will not share his glory with any man. It won't be a man or a group of men that save you in this situation, individually or as a country. It's God himself. And we look for divine assistance, guidance, and protection and provision through this. And beyond that, it will require that we as a people come together under divine ordinance, not under man's ordinances. That's the only way we get through this. So will we get through it? We absolutely will. You used to have a little bit of provisions. If you get, a couple of weeks where things aren't working right at the gas station and grocery store, expect it. And understand that when the communications are down for a brief period of time, this isn't Armageddon. It's not the end of the world. And you don't have to go out in a state to protect your property and shoot anything that moves. We're all going to hunker down, take a deep breath. Emergency broadcast system will be in place. And then we start turning things back on again in a way that doesn't allow people to be hurt. And if you're hunkered down, anybody that isn't hunkered down, that's probably a person that's a problem. We'll do just fine. We outnumber the bad guys significantly. And decisively, by the way. Even the ones that are embedded here. So I have a board meeting that I have to attend that they've been waiting several minutes for me to come in. So I have to bounce and get over to that board meeting.
No worries, Juan. I mean, I don't even know what to say, but other than thank you. You have given us a lot of information, and I implore you to continue to repeat yourself, because I agree with you. Sometimes you got to be repetitive for people to get it to finally sink in. So, Juan, I appreciate you for being here, as does my audience. I'm going to get you back on as much as I can until all this stuff gets wackadoodle. Are you going to be kind of hunkering down yourself and not doing some shows for a while once this stuff starts hitting?
Oh, no.
Okay.
It's just that I've been very busy. I've had several streaks here where I've had to go several weeks and didn't do any shows. But we're at a critical moment, especially these weeks coming up to the pause, and I expect to be available all through that. I won't back off at all. So let me say a quick prayer with your audience.
Please.
Father God, I thank you for each person here. I ask you to give them clarity of mind, to speak to them individually, personally, and to give them personal reassurances only you can give. No man can do that. I ask you to give each person here guidance, and that you would give them a scripture, an anchor into you, your word, to hold fast through all of the things coming, not just for themselves, but for their families, the people around them, the people that you've given into their care, and that you would make perfect provision for each one, so that they're not just surviving for themselves, but they have wherewithal within their control to assist the people around them and bring them all through this together to the far side. We pray within the context of a pilgrim's covenant for divine protection, not just as individuals, but as a nation, to get through this, pull the country back together, and then be about the work that you've given us as a people, to be light and salt out into the world around us for good and righteousness, and to see justice done for justice' sake before you, according to your will. I thank you for each person here. Pray perfect health for each one, that they would find perfect health in their relationship with you, that it infuses from every pore of their body, from the inside out, and that they won't need the Faucis and all of those people around him with their powders and cures and shots and everything else, that they would be walking specimens of perfect health and exuding health to the people around them, restore us as a nation strong, vital, and able to move into the new world that you have ahead for us. We pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Juan. I'll be in touch with you, get you back on. Stay safe out there. God bless you, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you, Juan. And everybody, there you have it. So for those people out there that are giving you a hard time, there can't be a pause in the election, Trump can't do it, la 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 la, send them this podcast, everybody. We just got a great podcast and a lot of great information from 107. So for those of you haters out there, keep on hating, because Juan has been on target, whether you like how his presentation is or not. He is on target. So if you're not following him, definitely follow him, because he is laying it out more now than ever, as is Donald Trump and many others that have really talked to us very cryptically and coded. So with all that, everybody, God bless you. I am super stoked about this podcast. It was amazing. I've got the chills. Buckle up, buttercups. Stay vigilant. Head on a swivel. And no fear. We are going to get through this together. But we need to get right in the mind, stay out of the noise, the bullshit noise, and that's what it is bullshit, and turn to God, you guys, because we're gonna need him. But remember, we've gotten this far. We can get through this. So God bless you all. Come back and visit me on my X Space at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time for our lovely Silk. If you want to get some laughs, some fun, and some truth right in there with it, come on over and visit us over on my X Space at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern with Miss Silk. God bless you all. Love you all. And once again, thank you for all of you being here. You guys are rock stars. Love you all. God bless.